Hello YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be getting back to a health coaching related topic, and I'm going to be talking about one of the primary theories of motivation. Now, how is this going to help you on your lifting journey? This might help you to understand your own behavior a little bit more, your own psychology, why you make certain decisions, and ultimately get more out of your entire process. So today we're going to be talking about self-determination theory. Self-determination theory is a primary theory of motivation that is based on two primary assumptions. The first assumption is that we as humans are always striving for some sort of growth and that this helps us to better understand ourselves and our place in the world. The second assumption is that intrinsic motivation is central to this process of self-discovery and growth, while extrinsic motivation is more based on external factors such as some sort of reward or incentive, be it fame, money, recognition, validation, etc. Intrinsic motivation relies more on our why. What is the deeper meaning behind the actions that we take? And how does this give us a greater sense of purpose in the way that we go around and interact with the world? So now that I've covered these kind of two base assumptions in which the theory is formed out of, I now want to cover the three pillars, if you will, of self-determination theory and what those mean. So I'm going to grab the whiteboard once again. You can tell how creative I am with the whiteboard designs. So the three main components of self-determination theory, which I've mentioned in other videos, are autonomy, competence, and relatedness. So let's talk about each of those individually, and I'll give practical examples of how it might relate to you and your lifting journey. So the first is autonomy, and this is a principle that I covered in my last video about what is health coaching. So if you haven't seen that one, go check that out first. Autonomy means that we as individual agents feel as though we have control over our circumstances, our environment, etc. So practically, how does this actually relate to fitness is a question you might be asking yourself. So let's say you've heard certain recommendations around training or nutrition. It could be related to protein intake, meal timing, exercise selection, volume, any of these variables, and you feel like you have to do a certain thing. That would be an instance where you feel like you don't necessarily have autonomy. You feel like there's something that is required for you to do and you don't have any choices. You have to do high volume or low volume. You have to eat certain meals. You have to eat at certain times. It could even be applied in the context of coaching. Your coach tells you that you have to do XYZ things in order to see results. Or you feel like you have to do intermittent fasting or keto or something like this. Essentially, you feel like you're trapped into a certain way of doing things. I think we can all kind of inherently relate to the fact that when we feel like we are choosing the things that we're doing, we have a lot more enjoyment and buy-in into the process. Whereas when you feel like you're being told something, you feel like you have to do it a certain way, it kind of creates a certain resentment for that thing. A really simple example of this is a kid who's told, don't go get the cookies from the cookie jar. Obviously, what is that kid going to want to do? They're going to want to do the thing that they were told not to do. And it's a very similar thing when it comes to fitness or coaching. If you feel like you have to do things a certain way, you're going to feel restricted and you're going to create friction there, and it's ultimately not going to be an enjoyable process and one that you're bought into, and you're not going to get the results that you want because you're not going to be able to adhere to the process. The next thing that I want to talk about is competence. Competence means that you feel like you have some sort of self-efficacy. You feel like you have the ability to be successful in whatever you're doing. Where I think this often comes in is that people who are interested in fitness are probably people who have tried to get in shape before but have failed countless number of times. And they feel like they just don't have the ability to stick to a plan, to be disciplined, to follow through, and often they blame themselves when perhaps the problem was that the plan was not set up to be sustainable from the start, whether that be something they created themselves or something they got from a coach. When you devise a plan to make noticeable lifestyle changes, of course it's going to be difficult, but you don't want to make it more difficult than it needs to be. So understanding a lot of these principles around nutrition and training can mean that you can have flexibility. You can look at your lifestyle and you can decide, okay, where on this spectrum am I? This can come down to the number of days per week you train, how much time you have to train, food preferences, when you can afford to get in meals. There's a huge amount of variance in the way that you can do things, so setting yourself up to have a plan that allows you to stick to these things will build your self-efficacy and ultimately make you feel like you have the ability to stick to a plan to get good results. And as you start to see those results, as you start to stick to that plan more, your motivation and you're feeling like, yeah, I got this, I can do this, compounds on itself, and you start to build this momentum, and that can be really huge. So that's competence. And then we have relatedness, which is pretty much what it sounds like. You feel like you have social support, people that you can relate to and rely on. And this can be difficult if you feel like the people around you don't share your goals or your visions or your interests. Especially when it comes to fitness, this might not be something that people around you really prioritize or think about. And that's okay, but you might have to have conversations with people about, hey, I want to make these changes and this is why it's important to me. If in your immediate surrounding you feel like you don't have that support, going online can be a huge help here. Online forums, communities, This can all be super helpful for feeling like you have people that you can relate to, that you can share your experiences with, whether that be successes or challenges, and you can work through problems together. Maybe you can find people who have gone through similar situations and they can provide either solutions, or you can just feel like, hey, I'm supported by people who understand, they get it, and they can just provide that moral support that you might need to get through some tough times. And when you have all three of these things, autonomy, competence, and relatedness, self-determination theory says that your intrinsic motivation, your internal drive to accomplish things, to grow, to continue to hone your process and get closer to where you want to be, is going to be enhanced. So I hope with the practical examples that I gave, I was sort of able to illustrate how these things might apply to you. If you like this video and you want to learn more about some other motivational theories, since this is only one of many, please let me know down in the comment section below, and I'd be happy to make more videos on that. I plan to do that anyways, but it'd be nice to know that people are appreciating this and getting something out of this. If you could give the video a like, that would be massively helpful for growing the channel. I'm really trying to get this out to more people because I feel like there are a lot of individuals who could benefit from understanding this information and being able to really apply a lot of the things that they're learning when it comes to fitness. With that said, thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.